Hello, good afternoon. It is your host, Emmanuel Isaiah Smith, and today's date is Sunday, September 14th, 2025. The time is 12:50 p.m., and I am in Homestead, Florida. The title of today's lecture is Psychological Warfare. Psychological warfare is a necessary component of gang stalking campaigns because ultimately the human brain controls all else. And because gang stalking is a federally sanctioned exercise in behavior modification, human experimentation, and data gathering, particularly on human beings, well, you need good test subjects. If you're conducting an experiment on a person, particularly an experiment that may have a deleterious effect on that person, you need a good test subject. What's a good test subject? Well, it's one who doesn't ask too many questions. It's one who doesn't fight back. It's one who accepts things as they are and has less of a capacity to challenge the status quo. It's a person that has low self-esteem, a person who doesn't want anything in return for their time, a person who may be mousy or timid, a person who's a real wimpy pushover, okay? That's the kind of test subject that you need if you're getting ready to start conducting experiments on people who might experience some personal harm from your experiments. Now, how on earth they picked me for a gang stalking campaign, I have no idea. Because I am the very opposite of all of the things that you need for a good gang stalking test subject. And mind you, when I say test subject, I'm talking about essentially what might be called in the science profession a guinea pig, somebody who new experiments are used upon at my expense, and to the great delight of the experimenters, because they get to use a real live person, a real live living human being, for various subjects and tests and experiments, and they get to see live and in real time on a daily basis how a real live living human, not a mouse in a laboratory, not a rat in a laboratory, not a guinea pig in a laboratory, not an ape or a monkey in a laboratory, not a dog or a cat in a laboratory, but a real live living human test subject out in his natural habitat, planet Earth, the United States of America, Miami, Florida. And you get live results that you can document right on the spot for free. It doesn't cost you a thing. All you have to do is be plugged into the gang stalking mechanism and watch as your human test subject is continually pestered, disrupted, and obstructed by total goofball, useless idiot strangers who he has no affiliation with. They just happen to know how to use a clandestine signaling mechanism, which is given to them by federal sources. I call them liaisons, that lead them to a targeted person so they can use their buffoonish, ape-like domination and pestering tactics on him. Now let me get back to the crux, because this entire lecture is a crux. It's a crest. Okay, when it comes to clandestine gang stalking. So these experimenters, maybe you're from the NSA, maybe you're from the CIA, maybe you're from some scientific research center that has government affiliations. Maybe you're a church. Maybe it's a combination of all of the above that have thrown into this forced human test subject behavior modification experiment and disruption campaign called gang stalking. It's obviously got elements of all of the above intertwined. So I can only imagine how many of the above named corporate, religious, and governmental auxiliaries are taking part in it. For data collection purposes, for human experimentation purposes, and obviously the data that's collected on me can be used to understand human behavior better and also help to guide companies and businesses on how to consolidate this knowledge that's being collected from targeted persons into knowledge that businesses can use to better accommodate their customers, and information that governments and politicians can use to better acquiesce the needs of their populace. All of these mechanisms are being enhanced by the domestic terrorism and domestic buffoonery module known as gang stalking. Now, a person's brain is a receiver. Not much different than a radio receiver. Now, here's why I say that. Over the past 75 years in particular, numerous studies on the human brain have been done that have concluded that the human brain, particularly in its synapses, produce micro jolts of electricity, as does the human heart. The human heart also produces micro jolts of electricity. That is why in hospitals you're able to get a heart reading from nodes that are placed on the left side of your chest that have a wire that is connected to a computer device. And that computer device will show your heart rate right there on the screen in the form of lines that are constantly piercing upward and piercing downward. If a person's heart activity stops altogether, that's what's called a flat line, and that's where the electrical impulses in your heart stop, and the node can no longer pick up those electrical signals, and it appears on the computer screen as a flat line. The same with your brain. Your brain produces electronic jolts periodically, and that is the epicenter of your entire being is your brain. Now, your brain is a receiver, not much unlike a radio receiver. How is a brain and a radio receiver similar? So your brain can send and receive electronic signals, and it can also receive radio transmissions, believe it or not. And the reason it can receive radio transmissions is because all a radio transmission needs to manifest somewhere is some form of an electrical impulse. That's it. And because the human brain generates electrical impulses, it can readily and actually receive a radio signal directly to the brain from a third-party source, and the person who is the subject of that radio wave will actually hear the radio transmissions. Okay, I'm going to say that once more for clarity. Your brain is a receiver, not much like a radio receiver. A radio receiver can send and receive radio waves and other waves, not just radio waves, but it can send a radio can send and receive electromagnetic radiation signals as well. Okay? That's why we have AM and FM. Two different classes of signals are being received by the same radio. The FM signals are obviously of a higher caliber than the AM signals, but they're two different kinds of signals, but the same radio receiver can pick both of them up. You see? The human brain can also receive signals. And I'm not talking about the kind of signals that these buffoonish gang stalkers use on a daily basis. Okay? The physical gestures, the vehicular maneuvers, the verbal commands, and so forth, those are different kinds of signals. Those are communicative signals. When I talk about the kinds of signals that a human brain can receive, we're talking about electromagnetic radiation. We're talking about radio waves. We're talking about gamma rays. We're talking about X-rays. We're talking about the entire spectrum of various waves, radiation, and electromagnetic presences that are in the air. The human brain can pick those up. Okay? Does that mean that a person can beam a radio program into someone's head without an actual radio, and all you need is the radio signal and a device that is used to beam that signal to a person? Yes. The answer to your question is yes. And as a matter of fact, this concept was semi-proven in 1984 in a study that was done at Yale University by a number of biologists. And one of these biologists invented a contraption, and mind you, this is all information that you can find on various peer-reviewed journals, and I think the National Library of Health has an article on it as well. This experiment actually happened, okay, at Yale University in approximately 1984. So as they were studying the capacity of the human brain to send and receive electromagnetic signals that are typically invisible, one of these scientists, these biologists, who was also an electrical engineer, put together a contraption that allowed him to remotely alter the electrical activity in a person's brain quickly, thus changing their emotion from one emotion to the next emotion right there on the spot. Okay, I'm going to say that once more. In 1984, there was a study done at Yale University. And one of the researchers of this study, who also had some sort of a background in electrical engineering or electrical engineering resources available to him, devised a contraption that allowed him to remotely induce emotions in people. All you have to do is interfere with or manipulate their natural electrical brain impulses. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, we established at the beginning of this lecture that your brain is constantly, throughout the day, emitting small electrical jolts. Very small electrical jolts. But these jolts are significant enough to where they can be picked up by nodes and sensors and displayed on a screen in a hospital room. That's how a computer, that's how electrical equipment is able to pick up your brain activity. It's because it's picking up your brain's natural electrical signals. Okay? Those natural electrical signals can be easily manipulated. Easily. With powerful spectrum-based technology. A person's entire personality can be changed over time. If enough of this spectrum radiation or gamma ray activity, this radio wave activity, is used on them. Now, mind you, if you're a gang stalker, you don't have to understand what I'm saying. If you're a gang stalker, chances are you are of the simple-minded sort. And if you're not simple-minded, you're probably gullible. Because, quite frankly, only a gullible person will allow another person to signal them somewhere to do something to someone who they don't know or have never had any interaction with. So you have to be a person that is easily led, as they say, to be a gang stalker. And mind you, there are very brilliant people who are very intelligent who are easily led. Being easily led is a character trait that is not necessarily an indicator of your intelligence. You could be easily led but be very smart. And on the other hand, you could be very stiff-necked or strong-willed and be of average intelligence. But then again, there are people who are very strong-willed and very smart. And then you have people who are easily led and have average intelligence. You see? So there's a combination of these things. Gang stalkers are easily led people. They go with the flow, they go with the herd, and they're the kind of people that you might refer to as lemmings. Okay? And why do I use the term lemmings? It's because lemmings follow the leader to their own detriment. Okay? Lemmings are an animal that will follow the leader off of the side of a cliff to all of their deaths. And the type of person that would go into and practice gang stalking is a lemming. They are just following the leader to their own detriment. And ultimately, with my help, this is going to make them, their families, their country, and their God look awful, because they get comfort in what they do from all of the above. And I say their God because, quite frankly, I do believe humans are an ancient creation, and I refuse to believe that the same creator that made me made them. There must have been some other deity that put them here, the kind of person that would participate in gang stalking. I believe that different people are of different sorts. So, back to psychological warfare. How does the manipulation of brainwaves play into psychological warfare? Well, as I said at the beginning of this lecture, ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to be a targeted individual, the best targeted individual is one who allows them to stomp on them and wipe their feet off on them on a daily basis. That's the kind of person that these cowardly punks would like to experiment on. They don't want a guy like Emmanuel Isaiah Smith, the kind of guy who's going to go on websites like YouTube and Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Blogger, Truth Media, Blue Sky, Blogspot, Twitter, and expose the hell out of them while resisting them when I'm out in the open and going about my daily business, telling them right to their face what they are. That's not the kind of test subject they want. But you know what? They should have thought about that before they threw me in this thing. They thought for some reason they were going to get some sort of a gorilla, a mindless gorilla, that they were going to be able to do their test subjects on. And I turned around and just fired up my computer, put up a camera, got some recording equipment, and basically put everything they do online for the whole world to see. Because I already know they're useful idiots, but I want the whole world to see that they're useful idiots. You see? So that's where you all messed up. You all are useful idiots that put somebody who is resourceful and fortuitous, vigilant and energetic in a gang stalking campaign, which requires a weak-minded pushover type of a person. So you guys got that all wrong, and quite frankly, a screw up that bad in a program this intricate is catastrophic, and I'm proving it to you right now. So thank you for tuning in. So with respect to the psychological warfare element of this, a targeted person has to feel always on the defensive. You see, and the reason they have to feel always on the defensive is because there are very high powers involved in gang stalking, very high powers, that are constantly gathering data on this person and would like to do it until that person passes away, whenever that may be. It could be when they're 80 years old. It could be when they're 50 years old. Life is an uncertain thing. But quite frankly, I protect myself at all times. Okay, like the referee says before a boxing match, both fighters protect yourself at all times. That's what I do. So if any of these thug units that these coward-based narcissistic, useful idiot gang stalking methods or machinations are supposed to do, it wasn't going to work on me. Okay, they picked the wrong guy, and I'm proving it on a daily basis. The whole world has my information now. It's already been exposed. You can stop now. You failed. You tried with the assistance of the United States federal government and its national security apparatus to participate in a program that was sustained by the American taxpayer that would allow you to collect data extrajudicially on unwitting American citizens using their surroundings, not only their human surroundings, but the technical surroundings, the technological surroundings that you've placed around them as data gathering tools. And you know what? Your attacks, your germ spreading, your sabotage, your disruption, your annoyances, your character defamation, your libel, your slander, your attempted legal attacks, and your psychological attacks, which is what the core component of this lecture is about, have failed. And you failed spectacularly. I'm talking to the orchestrators of this program, I'm talking to the liaisons, and I'm talking to the useful idiot stalkers yourself. You failed. And you failed spectacularly, and I'm going to tell you why you failed spectacularly, because you were exposed by one of your test subjects, myself. And I exposed you online in front of a worldwide audience. You can stop now, because at this point, you're only going to make yourselves, your family, your country, and your God look worse. Okay? You can stop now. If you choose not to stop now, I am going to take that as you persisting in this covert war that you've leveled against me, and I'm going to suit up with the armor of knowledge and technology, and I'm going to continue exposing you. I will never run out of things to say about this. You want to keep my gang stalking campaign going for another 30 years? Do it. Because you know what? When I'm 70 years old, I'll be older, I'll be wiser, and I'll probably have a whole gang of technology waiting for you. Because who knows? I mean, technology will be a lot more advanced 30 years from now, right? 40 years from now. So whatever the technology of the next 4 decades brings, I'll have that technology at my disposal, and I'll continue exposing you on the world stage. And you will continue to make yourselves, your families, your countries, and your gods look terrible. Clearing my throat, ladies and gentlemen. What is psychological warfare, and what does it have to do with gang stalking? It has everything to do with the above named, because in order for these gargantuan human behavior experiments to manifest, you got to keep your test subject on the defensive. You can't let him get too comfortable, otherwise he might resist you, and you won't be able to take any more data off of him. You won't be able to record his behavior anymore. And the various companies that you're selling the results of your experiment to won't have nothing to purchase from you. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, gang stalking is a business venture. I've talked in the past about the follow the money element of it. And not only are there human behavioral research protocols in place that get various forms of compensation for their assistance in this matter, but there are actual tangible entities that benefit from clandestine gang stalking. I mean, look at all the car accidents, the derived car accidents that happen. Who does that benefit? It benefits the auto body industry. It benefits the insurance industries. Because if you get into a car accident, you have to get auto body repair work, and the auto insurance profits because they get to raise the rates on your insurance. Gang stalking also benefits the hospital industry. Why? Because the hospital industry profits from all the visits a targeted person has to make to the hospital from getting sick at the hands of diseased stalkers. and from getting physically harmed by the more clumsy or aloof stalkers. The security industry and surveillance industry profits because targeted persons who are homeowners, target individuals who are car owners, target individuals who do have cameras in their apartments and so forth, or that do have apartments and so forth in their names, they have to go out and get surveillance equipment to keep them safe, because stalkers are always burglarizing their home and car. Psychiatric industry profits. Why? Well, because one of the goals of clandestine gang stalking is to induce psychosis in gang stalking in targeted persons. And even as I do this lecture, there's a game being played with me by the stalkers. What the game is this, because right now I'm on the corner of Chrome Avenue and Mowry Drive in Homestead. Here's the game that's being played with me right now, because I'm doing this lecture and I have my book bag, my sweater, and a lemonade sitting on the ground. Since I started this lecture, probably 12 people, maybe a third of them were on bikes, a third of them were on scooters, and a third of them were on foot, and a third of them walked by on or maneuvered by on some other motorized device. Over the past about 30 minutes now, 12 people scattered about over the past 30 minutes have walked immediately past my items as if they wanted to steal it and run off with it. And that's the kind of thuggery that these piece of garbage, cowardly, useful idiots, stooge-like stalkers use on targeted persons like myself. They wait until you're preoccupied, and then they go off and try to start some thuggery. Like, for example, I got some knucklehead trying to run me over with a bike right now, as I'm saying this. So you see, I'm trying to explain what's happening with the street theater, and some knucklehead on a bike tries to ride right into me. You see, it is a thuggish, useful idiot module that Congress authorized post 9/11 blindly and negligently in national security bills, and it's manifested as gang stalking, or as I might call it, useful idiot stalking, because you got to be a useful idiot to participate. But I want to get back to this game they're playing with me. So I'm kind of in a grassy area right in front of the Chrome Avenue Metro Rail, right in front of the AT&T store, and just behind me is the Florida Quality Roof Solution place. So I'm in kind of a grassy field. It's a turf that I'm on. And I got my book bag, my sweater, and my lemonade on the ground, and I'm sort of pacing back and forth doing this lecture. They keep sending people by my book bag, people that are taking signals. They're taking these signals and they're being led right past my book bag on foot, scooter, bike, and other motorized vehicle, almost as if they're setting up to grab my items and flee on these motorized vehicles. They keep sending them right past my items. You know what, you stalkers, you can be thugs if you want to. You can be thieves if you want to. You can be robbers if you want to. You can be useful idiots if you want to, because that's what I think of every last stinking one of you. Psychological games like you pretending that you're going to steal my stuff and run away on a scooter while I'm doing a lecture, you can go right to hell. You know why? Because you're making yourselves, your families, your country, and your gods look stupid with your ape-like behavior. And that's across the socioeconomic spectrum. That's across the demographic spectrum. If anyone comes back to me and say, hey, why are you calling them apes? I'm going to say, no, I'm calling you an ape. Because that's what biologists say humans are. Some of you have divorced yourself from your ape nature in favor of a higher ideal. Some of you have embraced your ape nature and you do apish things like gang stalking. So, Psychological warfare, ladies and gentlemen. The target always has to be on the defensive. Okay? Gang stalkers use the element of surprise constantly. And the element of surprise is a gang stalker's best friend. Why does a targeted person always need to be on the defensive? A targeted person always needs to be on the defensive because when you're always on the defensive, your posturing is not progressive. Your posturing is recessive. If you're always on the defensive, that means you're always guarding yourself from something that's coming at you. It's difficult to progress, not only in your physical movements, but in society, in your life, if you can never look ahead. You can never think forward. You can never look to the future because you're always on the defensive against something that's coming at you constantly. That is a gang stalker's best friend. That is a federal liaison's best friend. That is an undercover operative's best friend. A person who is constantly on the defensive or a person who is constantly timid. Now you guys can operate and do your little ape-like monkey business around the targeted person without fear of recourse from the target because they're constantly on the defensive. You all screwed up with me because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this big, beautiful video I'm making right now and I'm going to throw it on all of my big, beautiful websites and it's going to make a big, beautiful splash on the World Wide Web. And you know what? You're the ones of you that are hiding behind the curtains, the ones of you that are like to do all that crap behind the scenes, the ones of you that like to pull strings in the background because it makes you feel like some sort of a big boy, you are the subject of this video. Do you understand? And all your little useful idiot thug gang stalkers can follow you. So, ladies and gentlemen, psychological warfare, a targeted person always has to be on the defensive. So that's why your gang stalking campaign is going to be relentless. It's going to be constant. You are constantly going back and forth, side to side, up and down, diagonal. You're constantly getting away from this person or getting away from that person or avoiding this or avoiding that. Watching out for cars here, watching out for scooters there, watching out for animals there, watching out for germ spreaders there, watching out for potential criminals there, watching out for thugs there. You're watching out for felons there. You're watching out for violent, insane homicidal maniacs there. Okay, you're watching out for scooters here. You're watching out for bikes here. You're watching out for public transportation here, because it seems to me that a lot of public vehicles get involved in the action with the signaling. I've probably almost been run over by as many public vehicles as I have private. But you see that you always have to be on the defensive. And it's not just physical obstruction that they do, it's also verbal pestering that they do. Okay? If a person signals you to a stalker, when they get in your immediate vicinity, if they do not get in your way physically, they will mumble something out of their mouth that is hostile or threatening to you, so as to keep you on the defensive at all times. You see, a stalker can say something to you from 50 feet away. By not looking at you, they could just mumble it somewhere as you're walking past or as they're walking past you. And if enough people do that to you on a daily basis, all day, every day, as you go about your business, it can put you on the defensive. The people don't have to say it to you directly, because a lot of these stalkers won't say nothing to you directly. They'll say something to somebody they're with that is about you that's hostile or threatening. So it's not just people being signaled to obstruct you physically, it's people being signaled to come within a certain feet of you to where you can hear what they're saying. And so something ignorant, disgusting, hostile, or vulgar can come out of their mouth about you. Okay? It's a situation where you have to be careful with your proximity to people, not just because they'll get in your way, but because they'll say something out of their mouth to you as they're passing you by, or as you're passing them by, or as they come within your immediate vicinity, so as to psychologically destabilize you. You see, the attacks that a targeted person receives are not just physical, they're also verbal and psychological, okay? A targeted person, particularly here in South Florida, you're going to encounter this a lot if you are a targeted person. You're going to encounter people who arbitrarily walk past you and mumble something out of their mouth audibly, because you're supposed to hear it, that is obviously a vulgar insult of some kind. That's a part of the synchronization. It's not just to cut you off with vehicles. It's not just to try and collide into you in the shopping carts in the grocery store. It's not just to cause you discomfort as you're climbing or descending stairs, as if they're trying to make you fall down the stairs, okay? It's not just workplace mobbing, which destabilizes a person's occupational career. It's not just spreading germs and disease arbitrarily because someone who signaled you to do it said it was okay. It's a combination of the above, and it's also a combination of verbal thuggery, okay? Somebody getting just within listening distance of you because they were signaled to do so. They get just close enough to you to where you can hear them mumble something out of their mouth that's vulgar, hostile, or threatening. So I'm gonna say, in contrast to that, if you are a person who is some annoying thug that won't go away, and you have constantly bugged my surroundings so as to constantly hear me and hear what I have to say, I'm gonna insult you. Because why are you listening to me in a covert fashion? Why are you playing espionage games? If you want to know about me, if you want to know what I have to say about you, visit me online. Google me at Emmanuel Isaiah Smith. Google me at Emmanuel Isaiah Smith. You'll hear everything I have to say. But if you come around me with bugging equipment, with listening devices, and you plant them somewhere, I'm going to insult you every chance I get. Do you understand? Because I know you're listening. And you know what? Unlike you, I don't have to take a signal to do it. I do it because I want to do it. You do it because someone signals you to do it. You lousy stalker, you. You hear me? So ultimately, I'm going to invoke my First Amendment constitutional rights to speak on this congressional catastrophe that Congress cannot begin to comment on because it's too embarrassing. It's so embarrassing, in fact, that if they even begin to try and remedy the problem publicly, they would immediately become the laughingstock of the entire world. Why? Because the United States of America has always billed itself as the freest country on earth. You bill yourself as the freest country on earth, as the quintessential democratic republic, and as the quintessential constitutional republic, and then you turn around and in the stroke of a pen, you legalize covert war against your own citizens using your national security apparatus as a belligerent. This is going to make you look bad, and you know what? It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. This is going to make the federal establishment of America look bad, and it just is what it is. You all do not see the hordes of useful idiot stalkers that you use on people and the harm they cause. Because you're not that involved with it. You're involved with it on the administrative level. You signed off on it post 9/11, and you keep implementing national budget accommodations so that the program has the funding it needs to continue operating. So you don't really see what it is you've unleashed on the American people, and that's unfortunate. But I'll tell you what you've unleashed on the American people. You've initiated state-sanctioned domestic terrorism. You've initiated state-sanctioned disease spreading, state-sanctioned assault, state-sanctioned attacks, state-sanctioned burglary, state-sanctioned workplace mobbing, and state-sanctioned harassment. That's what you've authorized, Congress. And you've put all this in the hands of the national security apparatus of this country, and they use it to perpetrate psychological warfare on people to keep them on the defensive, to keep you from feeling confident, to keep you from feeling grounded, to keep you from feeling established, to keep you from feeling well, to keep you from feeling strong, to keep you from feeling upbeat. Okay? Rather the opposite. They want you to continually feel as if you must backpedal to avoid their people. That's fine. That's your plan of action. You can have your plan of action. And you know who I'm talking to. A lot of you are listening right this second, who I'm talking to. And a lot of you are dispatching people as I speak to my immediate vicinity for pestering, as if that's going to stop my lecture. But it's not going to stop my lecture. And if you send any of your thugs around me to try and snatch my stuff while I'm out here, because that's obviously what you're looking to set up, they better be fast. They better be fast. Because if I catch them, I'm going to take more than my items back. You understand? In the interest of my security, in the interest of my inalienable rights. Now, if any of you liaisons or any of you nosy pesterers that are constantly nitpicking through my lectures looking for threats or anti-American statements or whatever it is you're picking through my project looking for, you can take what I say however you want. If you find something that's legally actionable, you take me to court in a federal court of law, and we'll see what the United States Constitution has to say about what I say. Clear my throat, ladies and gentlemen. Psychological warfare, ladies and gentlemen. What does it entail? How does it work? What are its auspices? Well, I'll tell you just that. Its goal is to get the better of an enemy using non-violence, but rather psychological means. Some of these attacks are psychological. Some of the attacks are electronic. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, spectrum, radiation, and various gamma ray technologies are used on targeted people to keep their behavior modest. Okay, by manipulating brain signals, using this technology, a person's behavior can be made to be X, Y, or Z. Thank you for tuning in.